Beauty and the Beast. There was once a merchant who possessed great riches. He had six children, three boys, three girls, whom he liberally educated. The youngest girl was extremely pretty, in so much that she obtained the name of Little Beauty, which created jealousy on part of her less amiable sisters. The two eldest were extremely proud at being rich and spoke to their inferiors with greatest loudness. They gave themselves the most disdainful air and refused to visit other merchants' daughters. Nor would they indeed be seen with any but persons of the highest quality. They went every day to balls, plays, and public walks, and constantly jeered with the youngest sister for spending her time in reading or other unuseful and improving employments. In course of time, some unexpected events, their father lost his whole fortune, being bereft of everything but a small cottage and a few acres of land. My children, said the tender father, in consequences of my misfortunes, we must now work and labor. The elder daughters were very ill disposed at this sudden change from their uh, their competitive poverty and obtained no pity from their neighbors because of their pride, but everyone sympathized with Little Beauty, whose engaging manners and affable disposition commanded respect. When they removed their cottage, the merchant and his three sons employed themselves in tilling and sowing the fields and working in the garden, and that they might have corn, vegetables for their support. Beauty rose by 4 o'clock, lighted the fire, cleaned the house, and got breakfast ready for the whole family. At first, found all this very fatiguing, but she soon grew quite accustomed to it. When she had done with her work, she generally amused herself with reading or playing on her equipments. The two elder sisters, on the contrary, were at a loss what to do to pass away the time. They breakfasted in bed and did not rise till 10, when they commonly walked out and would frequently sit down under a shady tree to lament the loss of their carriage and fine clothes. When they would say to each other, "What a mean spirited, poor, stupid creature is the youngest sister, to be so content with our miserable situation." But the father thought very differently. He admired the patience of this sweet young creature, for her sisters not only left the whole of the work of the house to her, but insulted her every moment. In this rural state, the merchant lived some time, when one day he was agreeably surprised by the news that one of his vessels had safely arrived. Elated with joy, the two eldest daughters clung to their father when they learned he was about to go and take possession of his property, and entreated him to bring them some trinkets and other useless babbles. Beauty felt an inward pleasure on her father's prospects of being reinstated in affluence, yet concealed her ecstasy. You ask me not for anything, Beauty, said the father. My child, what I present shall I bring you? She neatly replied, I should like you, father, to bring me a rose, for we have none in our garden. The merchant then departed, but on arriving at the port, some dishonest persons went to the law with him about to about the merchandise. So after a great deal of trouble, he was returning his poor cottage as poor he had left it. When he was within 30 miles of his house, thinking of the happiness he should enjoy in again embracing his children, he had his misfortunes to lose himself in a thick forest. The which road his liaison. It rained and snowed terribly, and the wind was high as twas to throw him off his horse. Night being come, he fully imagined he should die of cold or hunger or be torn in pieces by the wolves, which howled in every direction around him. The merchant accidentally took down a long avenue, discovered a glimmering light at a distance to which he has hastened. He soon arrived at the gate of a palace, which he opened and was greatly surprised to find no one in any of the outer yards. The merchant then tied up his horse and walked towards the house, which he entered. And to his great astonishment, saw not a living creature. He pursued his way to the last hall, in which was good fire and a table plentiful supplied with food. As the snow and the rain had wetted him to the skin, he approached the fire to dry himself. I hope, he said, the master of this house or his servants will excuse the liberty I take, for it surely will not be long before they make their appearance. He waited a considerable time, and still nobody came. At the length, the clock struck 11, and the merchant, overcome with hunger and thirst, helped himself to a chicken and a few glasses of wine. All this time, trembling with fear, he sat till the clock struck 12, and not a creature had he seen. He now took courage and began to think of looking a little further above him. Accordingly, he opened an apartment magnificently furnished, which he has found open in another, in which there was an excellent bed, and being quite worn out with fatigue, he undressed himself and got into it. It was 10 o'clock the next morning before he thought of rising. When he was about to dress himself, he discovered a suit of new clothes in the room, of those which had been drenched with the rain on the preceding evening. No doubt, he ejaculated. This place is residence of some good fairy, who perhaps commiserated my helpless situations. He then returned to the hall, where he found a sumptuous banquet consisting of almost every delicacy. After partaking of the hearty repast, he repaired to the stable, in which passed by one of the arbors, he gathered a bunch of them for his daughter, Beauty. At this instant saw a hideous beast approach him, who, with a horrible grin, exclaimed, "Ungrateful man! Sheltered you and preserved your life from the pitiless storm. In return, you ungratefully steal my roses, more valuable to me than the whole of these possessions. For this nefarious deed, you shall immediately die." The merchant fell on his knees to the beast and, clasping his hands, said, "My lord, I humbly entreat your pardon. I did not think it could offend you to gather the roses for one of my daughters, who desired to have. I am not a lord, but a beast," replied the monster. "I do not like compliments, but that people should say that they think. So do not imagine you move me by your flattery. You say, however, that have your daughters. I will therefore pardon you on one condition, that one of them shall come hither and die in your place. Do not attempt to argue with me, but go. And if your daughter should refuse, swear to me that you will return in 3 months." The merchant assented, but added the beast, "It is my will that you go not empty away. In the chambers where you slept, you will find an old empty chest. Fill it with whatever valuables you choose, and I will get it conveyed to your cottage." The beast retired and left the merchant to ruminate. "If I must die, I may as well leave my children some provisions." Accordingly, he loaded the chest with gold. Mounting the horse, he left the palace of enchantment with no less grief that he entered it with joy. The horse of itself took a path across the forest, and in a few hours they reached the merchant's house. Children gathered round him as he dismounted from his horse, but the merchant, instead of embracing them with joy, could not, as he looked at them, refrain from weeping. He held his hand and bunch of roses. He gave it to Beauty, saying, "Take the roses, Beauty, but little do you think how dear they have cost your unhappy father." And they gave account of that happened in the palace of the beast. "Well, father," said Beauty, "as the beast will accept either you or one of your daughters, I will give myself up to his fury. As it is on my account you have been involved in this trouble." The merchant in vain endeavored to reason with Beauty, for she determined to go out, at which the elder sisters, who were jealous of her amiable qualities, secretly rejoiced. The affliction of the merchant was so great that he forgot the promised treasure, but on retiring to rest, discovered the chest of gold on his bedside. He, however, withheld the secret from his eldest daughters, imparting it only to you. When the 3 months were expired, the merchant and the beauty set out for the palace of the beast, upon which occasion two sisters rubbed their eyes with an onion to appear if they had shed many tears. But both of the merchant and his sons astonished them in reality. They reached the palace in a few hours, and entering an apartment found some sumptuous feast prepared, of which readily partook. Beauty was timorous, but tired of contact they gave her courage. Just as they had finished supper, the beast entered, and the monster asked if she came willingly. She tremblingly faltered out, "Yes, yes, you are a girl," he replied, "and I think myself obliged to you." He said to her father, "You may go from the palace tomorrow morning and take care never to return to it again." He then withdrew. The father and the daughter now wished each other a sorrowful good night and went to bed, thinking it would be impossible for them to close their eyes. But no sooner had they lain down than they fell into a profound sleep, from which they did not wake till morning. Beauty dreamed that a lady approached her, who said, "I am much pleased, Beauty, will the generous affection you had shown in being willing to give your life to save that of your father, and it shall not go unrewarded." Beauty, as soon as she awoke, related this dream to her father, but though it afforded him some comfort, he could not leave his darling child without shedding the bitterest tears. Beauty surveyed many parts of the palace and at length came to a door over which was written "Beauty's apartment," where an extensive library furnished to illuminate the mind and cultivate the understanding, in addition to which there were several exquisite pieces of music whose chords vibrated through the vaulted room with more than usual melody. This gave Beauty a favorable opinion of the beast, whom she before conceived hostile. She then opened the library and perceived an elegantly bound book, in which was written letters of gold. "Furious lady, dry your tears. Here's no cause for your sight or fears. Command as freely as you may. Complaint still shall mark your way." "Alas," said she, sighing, "there is nothing I so much desire as to see my poor father, to know that he is this moment doing." When casting her eyes on a looking glass that stood near her, she saw her home and her father riding up to the cottage in the deepest affection. Her sisters had come out to meet him, who, notwithstanding all their endeavors to look sorry, to could not help betraying their joy. At noon, Beauty found every delicacy prepared for her, and at the supper, when she was going to place herself at the table, she heard the beast advancing, who said, "Will you allow me, Beauty, the pleasure of seeing you supper?" "That is, you please," she replied, somewhat immediate. Beauty, in the course of conversation, overcame her fears, but when the beast asked her if she would wedded to him, she paused for a few moments and then gave him an answer which implied no consent. The beast pitifully sighed and retired to the well through tears. Beauty felt for him the greatest compassion and regretted his frightful appearance. One day she said to him, "You exceedingly distress me, but though I cannot love you yet, you shall ever be entitled to my esteem for the attention and the kindness which I here witness." He then made her promise she would not totally quiet him. In answer, she said, "I will not, but I am desire of seeing my father, and if adash, I fear I shall die of grief and despair. Promise me, said the beast, you will return in a week, and due tomorrow morning you shall find yourself with him. When you wish to return, you have only to put your ring on a table when you go to bed. Then he bid her farewell. When she awoke in the morning, she found herself with her father. A chest with profusion of fine clothing, pearls, and diamonds were also gift for the beast. Beauty Beauty walk put her ring on the table and soon fell into a slumber again. In the morning she found herself in the palace of the beast, and accordingly as she dreamt, discovering him almost lifeless and extended on the grass plat. She recovered him with a little water. The beauty soon opened his eyes and flattering said, Beauty, you forgot your promise. I had sought to starve myself to death, but sight of you rejuvenates me. Oh no, my beast, you shall not die. You shall live to become my husband. Scarce he has pronounced those words when the palace became suddenly illuminated, music, fireworks, and all kind of harmonic sounds announced the most splendid rituals. All this change of scene had no effect upon the laminating beauty, but the judge of her astonishment when turning aside, she beheld at her feet a handsome prince who thanked her for having broken his enchantment. Beauty inquired of this handsome prince, what was become of the beast? You see him, Beauty at your feet, said he. A wicked fairy had commanded me to wear this form for a beast. This still a beautiful young lady should consent to marry me, and had forbidden me on the pain of death, to show that I had any understanding. You alone, dearest beauty, had the generosity to judge of my goodness of my heart. Beauty assisted the prince to rise, and they proceeded together to the palace. When her astonishment was very great to find there her father and all her family, who had been conveyed thither by the beautiful lady she saw in her dream. Beauty, said the lady, receive the reward of your virtuous choice you have made. You have preferred goodness of your heart to sense and beauty. You therefore deserve to find these same qualities united in the same person. You are going to be made a queen. I hope a crown will not destroy your virtue. As for you, ladies, said the fairy to the elder sisters, I have long been witness to the malice of your heart and the injustice you have committed. You shall become two statues, yet under foe. You shall preserve your present reason, and you shall be fixed at the gates of your sister's palace. You will never recover your natural form till you are fully sensible of your faults. And to say the truth, I much fear you will ever remain a statue. At the same instant, the fairy, with a stroke of her wand, transported all who were present to the young prince's domain where he was received with transports of joy by his subjects. He married the beauty and passed her long and happy life because their actions were found upon